How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to our channel, Everything Jax Real Estate. And on this video, we are going to be doing our market update report for May of 2024 as it pertains to the city of Jacksonville as a whole. So my name's Justin. I'm with the Rookie Pro Home Team. And like I said, you're on our channel, Everything Jax Real Estate. And ultimately, our goal is always to provide as much value as we can to you, the audience, about what's going on here in the amazing city of Jacksonville, Florida. So in this video, we are going to be diving into the amount of homes that hit the market in May, the amount of homes that went under contract, what those homes are selling for, and also the days on market for those homes, for not just the actives, but also for the pendings and solds for the area. So there's gonna be a lot of great information when we come back, so you're not gonna miss what I have to say. All right, so before we get into the City of Jacksonville's market update report, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to our channel, and ring the bell so you get notified when we post more content like this in the future. Obviously, our goal is always to provide as much information as possible to you, and so with liking this video and subscribing to our channel, you help us with that. So next up, we are going to start with our actives. So for the actives in the area, what we saw was that we had 381 pendings in relation to 1,335 active homes still for sale at the end of May. This means we had roughly 1,716 homes on the market in May. What this left us with was a pending ratio of 22.2%, which is when you look at the amount of pendings divided by the overall amount of homes that hit the market in that month. So what we saw is, again, with 22.2%, roughly a little over 1 out of every 5 homes that hit the market in May went under contract. Now, this is actually pretty much in line with some of the other specific areas in the area. And overall, this still is in line with what we've seen over the course of the last year, where we've seen that pending ratio be anywhere from 20 to maybe even as high as like 26 to 27, maybe even 30% on the high end for the area. So 22.2%, with it not being much of a change from previous months, it is one of those things that we'll want to monitor because we are seeing more homes hit the market and potentially a little less contracts. But ultimately, it does show that we're still in a very healthy market overall. Now, when we take a closer look, we will see too that the majority of homes that were under contract were homes between 200,000 and 400,000. And we also saw that the majority of homes on the market were between 400,000 and 600,000. Again, they made up the largest group of homes in those brackets. So what that tells us is that there's a lot of demand for homes between 200,000 and 400,000, and there's a lot of supply of homes between 400,000 and 600,000. And so ultimately, the biggest thing for us to determine as we continue to move throughout the rest of this year is, what does that mean for pendings and how many people are actually buying the homes at these other price points? Now, when we look at the median list price, though, we do see the median list price falls right smack dab in the middle of the majority of homes in the market, which is $500,000. So the median list price for all of Jacksonville being $500,000 is definitely much higher than what we had ever seen before COVID, and it's about in line with what we've seen due to COVID as far as the overall pricing goes. Then as we continue to go down, we look at the pending and amount of homes in the market graph. So this graph just tells us how many homes are on the market in relation to how many homes are under contract. And what we can see here is the majority of homes on the market are actually under $1 million in Jacksonville, which does make sense. Obviously, there are going to be homes over $1 million, but most homes are going to be under $1 million. But what it does show us too is that if you're looking for a home between, $800,000 and $200,000, you have a lot of options because there's way more homes on the market in relation to the amount of homes under contract. So if you're a buyer, it's a great time to be able to negotiate at certain price points, to be able to get maybe a price reduction or get some concessions, or at least get some repairs done on the home that you're looking to buy. And if you're a seller, it just means you have to be open to doing some of those things. Next, we look at the total number of contracts that closed the last 6 months. And what we see here is we had just under 2,500 homes closed in the last 6 months, with a median sold price of we'll call it $30,000. So realistically, what that tells us is the homes being listed for $500,000 is not too far off from what they're selling for. So although we're in the summertime and sellers do want to maximize their price and they do want to go up on their price what seller wouldn't? What it's telling us is that they're not necessarily going up at a pace that's too much compared to what the homes are actually selling for. And so ultimately, though, it does show that the market is still very healthy here in Jacksonville, even if we're not seeing as many closings as we normally would for this time of year. Now, we also see here that there was a total of 451 listings that failed to sell. That happens all the time, and that's not a number that's really too concerning at this time for the area as a whole. Now, as we continue to move forward, we do also look at the days on market. For the days on market, we do see that for all active listings, we had 41 days on the market in the month of May. That is not too bad, and it's kind of in line with where we were at previous months, maybe even less. And that's because we're in now that summer buying window. So the days on market are going down, but they're still high compared to years past. So something to still keep an eye on as we go through the rest of this year. Now, how's that compared to the ones that actually sold? Well, when we look at the last 6 months, we knew that they sold for 430, but they also only took 21 days in the market. 21 days, that's about half of what these active homes are on the market for. And the reason for that? Price and condition probably. Maybe location as well. But overall, it just goes to show that if you are priced appropriately or you're willing to negotiate with the buyer, that your days on market does not have to go to those 30 to 40 to 50 days on market. You can be on the market and off the market relatively quickly if you're priced appropriately or your condition matches the price. And then when we look at the last 30 days, it gets even better. Ultimately in the last 30 days, we see that the prices actually rose to $445, which explains, again, as we see these trends, $430 in the last 6 months, $445 for the last 30 days, $500 for current listed homes. It's making sense now. We're seeing that trend. Does it continue? That'll be the question. But currently, there's a trend there you can see as far as why pricing is increasing, because there's data to support it to increase. And the other data with that is days on market, which for the last 30 days for those solds was only 13 days. So when we compare it 6 months to 1 month, we see, okay, 6 months, 430, 21 days. 1 month, 445, 13 days. As a seller, it's like, yeah, I can go up on price. As a buyer, it does mean that you have to be cognizant of that if you see one that you feel like is appropriately priced and it's fairly new to the market, you may not have a lot of time with it, so you may have to move a little bit quicker on it. But if it's been in the market for more than 15, 20 days, you might have some time. You might be able to negotiate the price a little more because it's maybe not matching where it needs to be at to get under contract relatively quickly. So something to keep in mind. Now, we also see here that the median listed sales ratio for the area was 97.9%. This is actually fairly in line with what we're seeing across the board. And it just means that sellers are getting roughly almost 98% of what they're asking on their homes. But that does not take into account if they've had to come down to the price to get to that offer. But when they come to the right price, they are getting relatively almost everything they're asking for. And that 2.1% they're not getting, it could be a concession to the buyer, it could be a price reduction to the buyer, but it's something to give to the buyer because it's a market where with higher rates, you have to be willing to give a little bit to get a lot, so to speak. Now for the overall area, we do see that the absorption rate was 3.2 months of inventory. So 3.2 months of inventory just means that if we don't have any new homes to the market, we'd be out of homes to sell in 3.2 months. In this case, we'd be out of homes to sell sometime in September. So what that tells us as realtors is that it's still a very healthy market. It's still a seller's market, just not the hyper seller's market that we saw in years past. As a buyer, it means you're gonna have more options. In some areas, way more options. Some areas may not as much. And certain price points, you'll have a lot more options. But ultimately, it still is a very healthy market here in Jacksonville, even if it has slowed down some compared to what we've seen in years past. And then finally, we are going to look at the table down below. So this table down below is actually going to highlight what I just discussed. And what it's going to highlight is going to show you that, relatively speaking, if you're looking for a home under $400,000 in Jacksonville, you're going to be in a fairly strong seller's market. So you're going to have maybe less room to negotiate. You may have more competition. Not all the time, but in a lot of situations, especially if it's a very good house that meets all or most of your family's wants and needs. Now, if you're between 400 and call it $1 million, it's still a seller's market, but not as much. So you have a little more room to negotiate. Now, if you're over $1 million, for the most part, you're going to have more options. And so, in some cases, you may even be in a buyer's market. Who would have thought? Who would have thought we'd be here where we have a buyer's market for certain price points? Now, granted, it's multi-million-dollar price points, but it still counts. Compared to during COVID, we didn't see any of that. So it just goes to show the market is in a change. It's not in an overall negative change, so to speak, but it's in a change whereas buyers, you have more leeway to ask for stuff. You have more leeway to get stuff from a seller. And for sellers, it just means that you have to be willing to work with buyers more now than maybe in years past. A lot has to do with rates, and as we go through the rest of this year, it will be interesting to see what happens with rates. Because if rates do come down some, we could see prices start to go up more. We could see inventory levels drop because more buyers enter the market, not necessarily because there's less listings, just more buyers to take those listings. So it'll be something to really take into account and keep an eye on as we go into the rest of 2024. All right, and so that's going to wrap up our market update report for the city of Jacksonville for May of 2024. If you had any questions about this video, you can always drop them in the comment section below, or if you want to reach out to me directly to get those questions answered or just have a conversation about real estate here, in the description of this video is a link to my calendar as well as my phone number. Feel free, you can either call me or you can schedule time for us to meet face-to-face or through Zoom to go over any and all questions you and your family may have about the city of Jacksonville and about what's going on currently in the city for different areas. I would love to discuss those things with you and see what I can do to help you with your home search here in Jacksonville. And as always, don't forget, like this video. You've already watched all of it anyways, you might as well like it. Subscribe to the channel and ring the bell so you get notified when we post more market updates like this in the future as we continue to keep growing our channel, Everything Jax Real Estate. Until next time, I will see you guys again.